Three red lights nearly killed Xbox. Not a bad game, not Sony, not even a disastrous launch price. Three blinking lights around a power button turned millions of expensive consoles into useless plastic boxes. Players wrapped them in towels, repair centers drowned in returns, and Microsoft faced a choice no spreadsheet could make comfortable: lose more than $1 billion immediately, or risk losing the entire Xbox brand. If you want to uncover how gaming disasters become billion-dollar survival stories, subscribe to Cartridge Graveyard. But the most surprising part is not how much Microsoft paid. It is what executives understood only after the failures had spread too far to hide. On November 22, 2005, the Xbox 360 launched in North America with almost everything Microsoft needed. The console looked sleek, Xbox Live felt years ahead of the competition, and high-definition games such as Call of Duty 2 made the previous generation seem ancient overnight. The $399 premium model sold out quickly. People waited outside stores. Empty shelves created urgency, and Microsoft gained a full year's head start over Sony's PlayStation 3. That advantage mattered because the original Xbox had been an expensive lesson. Microsoft reportedly lost billions establishing itself in the console business, but the Xbox 360 was supposed to turn that investment into a permanent place beside Sony and Nintendo. Every early sale meant another Xbox Live account, another game purchase, and another player less likely to switch platforms. But some new owners noticed something unsettling. Their consoles froze. Games displayed strange checkerboard patterns. Screens went black. Sometimes the machine simply refused to start. When players pressed the power button, 3 sections of the circular indicator flashed red. The red ring of death had arrived. At first, a failed console looked like an isolated defect. Electronics break. Launch hardware has problems. And online forums amplify every complaint. But the reports kept multiplying. One player would post a photograph of the red lights, so dozens more would reply with identical stories. Consoles failed after weeks, after months, or just after the standard 1-year warranty expired. A machine could work perfectly in the morning and become a $399 paperweight that evening. That unpredictability made the problem worse than a normal product flaw. If every console had failed immediately, Microsoft could have isolated an obvious manufacturing defect. But these systems often survived long enough to reach homes, build trust, and absorb hundreds of hours of play. The danger was hiding inside hardware that appeared perfectly functional. The Xbox 360 was powerful, compact, and produced enormous heat. Each gaming session heated its internal components, and every shutdown cooled them again. Repeated over hundreds of cycles, that expansion and contraction placed mechanical stress on the motherboard and its connections. Engineers and repair specialists have debated the exact combination of causes, including chip packaging, solder connections, board flex, cooling, and pressure from the heatsink mounting system. But players experienced only the brutally simple result. A critical connection failed, the screen went dark, and those 3 red lights appeared. Fail turned that engineering flaw into a financial crisis. A 1% defect rate across a few thousand devices is manageable. A serious defect across millions of consoles means warehouses full of broken hardware, overloaded support lines, and customers waiting weeks for replacements. By the end of 2006, Microsoft had shipped more than 10 million Xbox 360 units. Even a fraction coming back could overwhelm the system built to support them. Microsoft sent owners shipping boxes so their consoles could be repaired or replaced. But some replacement systems failed too. Owners began marking their machines to check whether the same unit returned. Internet repair guides appeared. The most notorious home remedy told players to wrap the running console in bath towels, deliberately trapping heat in the hope that thermal expansion might temporarily restore a broken connection. The image was absurd, but that was why it became so damaging. Microsoft was selling the future of entertainment, while customers were cooking its flagship console under towels just to finish a game. The joke spread because it contained real anger. One failure was frustrating. A failed replacement made the entire system feel untrustworthy. Every red ring created not only a support ticket, but a storyteller who could frighten an entire group of friends away from Xbox. Microsoft revised the hardware and adjusted its repair process, but the public crisis moved faster than the internal response. Executives could not announce every suspected cause because uncertainty would create more panic. They could not recall every Xbox 360 without accepting an enormous and unpredictable cost. But silence looked like denial, so each week without a decisive answer weakened trust. This was no longer a competition over graphics or exclusive games. It was a competition over whether the power button would turn green. The timing could hardly have been worse. Sony's PlayStation 3 had launched in November 2006. It was expensive at $499 and $599, but Sony carried the credibility of the PlayStation 2, which would become the best-selling console in history. Nintendo's Wii launched that same month and immediately attracted families, casual players, and people who had never considered buying an Xbox. Microsoft had gained a one-year head start, but unreliable hardware could erase it. If customers decided the Xbox 360 was too risky, Sony would not need to win them with better games. Microsoft would deliver those customers itself. Inside the company, the numbers became impossible to soften. Fixing consoles one at a time was already expensive, but extending protection to millions of machines would be far worse. It meant shipping, labor, replacement parts, support staff, inventory, and years of claims that could not yet be predicted precisely. Peter Moore, then head of Xbox, later described taking the problem to Microsoft chief executive Steve Ballmer. Moore's conclusion was stark. If Microsoft did not act decisively, the Xbox brand could be dead. $15 billion. Pause on that number. Microsoft had already spent years and billions of dollars fighting its way into gaming. Now it might have to sacrifice another billion not to create a new console, acquire a studio, or release a blockbuster game, but simply to prove that customers had not made a mistake by trusting it. Ballmer reportedly asked what needed to be done. Moore explained the plan. Microsoft would expand the warranty specifically for the 3-light hardware failure from 1 year to 3 years. It would repair affected systems without charge, cover shipping, and reimburse customers who had already paid for eligible repairs. Ballmer approved it. $15 billion. The company did not bury the cost inside vague corporate language. The number was so large that it became the story. But that number was also the rescue. Microsoft could not instantly make every console reliable, and the announcement did not erase the frustration of players who had lost multiple systems. But it changed who carried the risk. For the announcement, a customer could pay $399, suffer a hardware failure, and still face the cost of making the product work again. After the announcement, Microsoft accepted that burden. That distinction mattered more than any single technical repair. A product defect says a company made a mistake. Making customers pay for it says the company considers that mistake their problem. By committing more than $1 billion, Microsoft finally separated those two ideas. But money alone could only buy time. The hardware itself still had to improve. Later Xbox 360 motherboards used smaller, more efficient chips and better cooling arrangements, reducing both heat and power consumption. Eventually, the redesigned Xbox 360S moved even further from the launch machine's troubled architecture. Those changes did not arrive with the drama of a billion-dollar announcement. They appeared quietly inside new consoles, invisible to most buyers. But that quiet progress was essential. The warranty could persuade players to give Microsoft another chance. Only more reliable hardware could keep that chance from being wasted. And here is the result that seemed almost impossible when repair centers were filling with dead machines. The red ring of death did not destroy Xbox. The Xbox 360 went on to sell roughly 84 million units worldwide. Xbox Live expanded. Franchises such as Gears of War, Halo, and Forza grew stronger, and the system remained competitive for nearly a decade. It became the console on which millions of players built friendships, chased achievements, and stayed up far too late saying they would play just one more match. $15 billion. No check that large could force players to forgive failed consoles. What the company purchased was the opportunity to earn that trust back. One shipping box, one repair, and one working green light at a time. But the crisis left another cost, and it could not be recorded in a quarterly charge. The Xbox 360 had launched a year before the PlayStation 3, giving Microsoft an advantage that looked decisive. Yet speed creates value only when the product survives long enough to use it. The same urgency that placed more than 10 million consoles into the market also placed millions of potential failures inside living rooms. That was the lesson executives understood only after the red lights had spread too far to hide. Microsoft's head start and its hardware disaster were not separate stories. They were two sides of the same gamble. Shipping early helped Xbox seize the generation, but the rush also magnified every weakness in the machine. The faster Microsoft succeeded, the larger the eventual crisis became. And that is the final paradox of the red ring of death. Microsoft's biggest hardware disaster became one of its clearest demonstrations of commitment. The company did not save Xbox by avoiding failure. It saved Xbox because, when the true price of that failure finally appeared, it chose to pay the price itself. $1 billion could replace damaged machines, but taking responsibility is what kept the green light alive. Would you have trusted Xbox again after seeing those 3 red lights on your console? If stories about the decisions behind gaming's biggest moments are your kind of thing, stay with us for the next one.